I took a job as a security guard at an old warehouse a couple of weeks ago. I needed the money after losing my factory job. I didn't want the graveyard shift, but this was all I could find. The first night, I thought it would be easy. It was just me in this dusty, quiet place. The silence felt heavy. As I walked the aisles, the old lights flickered and creaked. I felt like something was watching me, but I told myself I was just tired. A few nights passed without too much trouble, but I kept hearing strange noises. There was a constant drip of water somewhere in the distance. On the third night, while going through the security logs, a loud crash startled me. My heart raced. It sounded like it came from the back storage area. Probably just a crate falling over, I thought. I brushed off the cold air that brushed against me. Exhaustion was messing with my head. The strange sounds didn't stop after that. I'd pace around, trying to stay alert, but I could hear soft scraping noises from above. It felt like something was up in the rafters. I'd quickly turn my flashlight up, but I'd see nothing, just shadows. I figured it could just be the building settling. I tried to shake off the unease. On the fifth night, things really picked up. I was checking the west end of the warehouse when my flashlight flickered and died. I cursed under my breath, fumbling in the dark for the switch. That's when I heard it, a loud thumping sound, rhythmic and echoing. I froze. There shouldn't be anyone else here at this hour. I tried to stay calm, but my heart was pounding. I looked around for any signs of movement. I thought I saw something dart across the far wall, but when I turned, there was nothing. Just darkness laughing at me. As the shift went on, the tension in the air grew thicker. I felt weighed down. The shadows felt alive. By the end of the night, I was a bundle of nerves. I really wanted to leave, but I needed the paycheck. Then, I heard a whisper, soft and chilling. It felt like it came from right beside me. I turned slowly, the cold air wrapping around me. My breath caught in my throat. I felt like I was going crazy. The shadows swirled around me, and I could feel doubt creeping in. What was real? My instinct screamed at me to run. I took one last look around, and the shadows seemed to pull back. But was that real? Or was it a trick of my mind? My skin felt clammy, and then the whisper came again, louder this time. Why are you here? I froze. What was happening? I didn't know if I was imagining things anymore. I just wanted the night to end and to escape this nightmare. But the question hung heavy in the air. Was it just me, or was something watching from the dark? I didn't know how much longer I could last in this place. The night felt like a thick fog, wrapping around me tighter with every passing moment. The question echoed in my mind, why are you here, and it sent shivers down my spine. I desperately wanted to leave, but I had a job to do. The shadows shifted, and the air felt charged. It was almost as if something was alive in the darkness. I glanced at the clock on the wall. Only an hour had passed since my last break. I needed to keep moving, to keep my mind busy. I decided to make another round through the aisles. As I walked, I felt the pressure of the silence. Then, from the corner of my eye, I saw a flash of movement. I stopped and turned my head, squinting into the blackness. My mind raced. Was it just my imagination again? I grabbed my flashlight, half expecting it to flicker out again. This time, it stayed bright as I scanned the area. Then I saw it, something small and dark darting into one of the storage areas. My pulse quickened. I had to check it out. I approached the storage area cautiously, my footsteps heavy on the concrete floor. The thumping noise had stopped, replaced by a faint sound, like scratching. I held my breath and listened. It was coming from behind a large crate. I pushed the crate aside, and what I saw shocked me. There, in the corner, was a small animal, a rat, maybe. But it wasn't just a rat. Its eyes glimmered, reflecting the light like tiny red embers. It froze for a second, studying me, then scampered away into the shadows. A small wave of relief washed over me. Just a rat. But then, a heavier dread settled in. Just a rat? I whispered to myself, trying to shake off the lingering fear. I needed to get back to my rounds and not think about it. As I turned to leave, a sound from behind made me jump. The thumping was back, loud and deliberate. This time, it sounded closer, almost as if it was following me. I hurried through the aisles, my heart racing again. I flicked my flashlight in every direction, desperate to uncover the source of the sound. Suddenly, the light revealed something on the floor. It was a small journal, the cover worn and dusty. I bent down to pick it up, curiosity overcoming my fear for just a moment. As I opened it, the pages crinkled, and the writing was hard to read. But one phrase jumped out at me: they never leave. Chills shot up my spine. Who had written this? And what did it mean? I glanced over my shoulder, half expecting to see something lurking behind me. The shadows felt deeper now, pressing in. That's when I heard something shift above me. I looked up just in time to see a dark shape leap off the rafters, crashing down onto the floor. I stumbled back, my breath lodged in my throat. I had to get out of there. But my feet felt glued to the ground. I could only stare as the darkness began to swirl, and the whisper returned, echoing in my mind. Why are you here? My options had run out. I needed to find a way to escape. The warehouse felt like a prison now, and I was not alone. I couldn't stand there anymore. My instincts screamed at me to run, but fear rooted me to the spot. I scanned the shadows, ready to bolt at the first sign of movement. The tension was suffocating. A flicker of light caught my attention, and my flashlight waned for a brief moment before shining brightly again. That's when I saw it, two glowing eyes peering from the darkness, just a few feet away. My heart raced as a low growl rumbled from the creature. It wasn't a rat after all. That I took a step back, and the eyes narrowed. The growl escalated, vibrating through the cold air. Panic surged through me, and I turned to run. I knew I had to reach the exit, but the layout of the warehouse suddenly felt foreign. 100 dim aisles twisted in my mind, each corner a potential trap. As I sprinted down the nearest row, I heard the creature follow. It was fast, way too fast. The echo of my footsteps collided with its growls, a chaotic symphony of fear. I whipped around a corner, praying for a moment of safety, and skidded to a stop. There it was, a large, hunched figure blocking my path. It was sleek and sinewy, its eyes glistening in my flashlight beam. Go away! I shouted, my voice cracking. It took a step forward, and I lunged in the opposite direction. I pushed through the aisle, adrenaline pumping through my body. I didn't want to know what it was. I just wanted to escape. In my panic, I nearly collided with a stack of crates. I stumbled, nearly losing my footing. The shadows danced around me, and I could feel the creature's hot breath on my neck. Just a little further and then I saw it, a glimmer of light breaking through the darkness ahead. The exit, hope surged within me. I sprinted toward it, each footfall louder than the last. The door was slightly ajar, inviting me into the safety of the outside world. Just as I reached out to push the door, a deafening crash echoed from behind. The creature had pounced, knocking over the crates in its path. In a desperate move, I slammed the door open and stepped outside. The chill of the night air hit me, and I almost felt free, but then I remembered, I still had to figure out what was going on inside. Just as I turned to lock the door in place, thinking I'd bought myself some time, I froze. The creature was no longer contained to the inside walls. It stood right outside, its form blending into the night. I could see it more clearly now. It was not just an animal. It was something far worse. Why are you here? The whisper pierced through the night, deeper and more haunting than before. My blood ran cold as I realized it wasn't just a voice in my head. I wasn't alone out here either, and just when I thought I could escape, the dark shadows behind the creature morphed into more forms. I was still trapped. I stumbled backward, my back pressed against the cold metal door. The creature's eyes bore into mine, glinting with a predatory hunger. It was no longer just an apparition of fear. I could hear the faint whispers of others, rising from the depths of the darkness that surrounded me. Panic surged again. I glanced to my left and right, desperate for an escape route. The courtyard was littered with debris, crumbling bricks and twisted metal, all of it shadowed in eerie night. My flashlight flickered once more, its beam dying a little more each second. I couldn't trust it to save me. "Stay back!" I shouted, my voice shaky but determined. The whispers coalesced, forming a chorus of unintelligible words. I felt the weight of fear dragging me down as I realized the shadows were shifting. They weren't just behind the creature, they were swirling around us. Without thinking, I turned heel and ran, heart pounding as adrenaline surged through my veins. The glow of the streetlights emerged from the corners of my vision, a beacon of safety. I rushed toward them, desperate for anything that might stave off the encroaching dread, but just as I approached the light, a barrier of darkness surged forward, cutting off my route. I skidded to a stop, breath hitching in my throat. I could see more forms materializing from the shadows, long, thin silhouettes with wide eyes that glared like the initial one. They moved with an unnatural grace, closing the distance before I could react that I was trapped again, and the whispers intensified. They seemed to form coherent words now, a mix of pleading and warning. "He knows you're here. He's coming." "Who?" I gasped out, my breath shallow. I wasn't sure if I was speaking to the shadows or to myself. One of the figures stepped forward, and I could barely make out its features. It looked human but was distorted, a grotesque caricature of a face. "You shouldn't have come. You must leave." It rasped before retreating into the dark that I felt a swell of anger mixed with confusion. Why were they warning me? Wasn't I the one who should be terrified? Just then, I heard a loud thud from the warehouse, something heavy slamming against the side of the building. The creatures reacted, their movements frantic as if they were aware of something far worse than me coming from within. That I pressed my back against the door again, trying to keep the distance. Whatever was sneaking out of the warehouse, it felt more dangerous than they did. Then another crash echoed, closer this time, and shook the ground beneath me. I had to decide quickly: stay here with the shadows or discover what was disturbed inside. Summoning courage, I edged my way back to the door, heart racing. This time, I didn't feel safe on the outside. I had to confront whatever lurked within. I knew I shouldn't go back, the fear was palpable. But deep down, it felt like there was no choice left. Just as I was about to turn the handle, I caught movement in the corner of my eye. It wasn't just the shadows shifting. Something was coming, and it wasn't just a creature anymore. I had to see what was hidden inside, before it found me first. I turned the handle, heart hammering in my chest. The metal was cold against my palm, and I hesitated, knowing I was about to push myself into uncertainty. But something inside me whispered that I could no longer stay in limbo between shadows and the unknown. As the door creaked open, the smell hit me first, a mix of dampness and decay that made my stomach churn. The faint glow from my dying flashlight barely cut through the thick darkness inside. I stepped over the threshold, the echo of my footfalls swallowed by the silence. I expected to see remnants of the ordinary, crates stacked high, old machinery collecting dust, maybe even a rat scuttling away. Instead, the warehouse felt alive, as if it had breath drawn from the very shadows. Every corner seemed to pulse with the thoughts of those dark figures from outside. The loud crash that had startled me before echoed again, this time sounding disturbingly close. I moved cautiously, feeling my way along the cold concrete wall, bracing myself for whatever lay ahead. My flashlight flickered weakly, its beam casting long, quivering shadows. And then I saw it. A figure, hunched over, silhouetted against the far wall. I squinted, trying to make out its features. It was the same grotesque shape I had seen outside. My instincts screamed for me to flee, but curiosity anchored me in place. "Who are you?" I called, surprised at how steady my voice sounded. The figure straightened slowly, its head tilting in an unnatural way. The candlelight on a nearby shelf seemed to flare for a moment, illuminating its face, a twist of skin stretched over sharp, jagged bones. It looked like that other creature, but this was different. This one felt more real. "Help me," it rasped. The words were laced with desperation. I wasn't sure if it was a plea or a trick. My body tensed, ready to run. "Why?" I managed to ask, worth the risk of letting it feel heard. "Stop him." The creature's eyes widened, filled with something that resembled urgency. "He's coming." He won't be stopped. A chill crept down my spine at the weight of the warning. I was lost in the horror embedded in its words when another crash erupted, this time with enough force to shake the building. My flashlight flickered and went out. Panic coursed through me. Darkness closed in like a heavy blanket. The figure was gone, but I felt something in the air shift, something watching me. Then, a low growl rumbled from deeper inside the warehouse. Whatever was tracking me was closer now, and I could feel its presence like a weight on my chest. With little choice left, I turned and bolted back toward the door. Footsteps pounded behind me, more than one set, echoing against the metal floor. It was coming, and I had no idea what I was running toward or what I might collide with next. Then, suddenly, the ground beneath me gave way, and I plunged into the darkness below. I hit the ground hard, agony shooting up my leg. The air whooshed out of me, leaving me gasping. I lay still for a moment, trying to catch my breath and figure out where I was. The darkness was thicker here, the air stale. I remembered the growl and the feeling of being hunted. Slowly, I pushed myself up. My flashlight was gone, lost in this cursed pit. I felt around, expecting concrete but instead finding something softer. I recoiled, my heart racing again, before realizing that it was just dirt. I was in some sort of basement, maybe a pit dug out for storage. I stood gingerly, testing my weight on each foot before I committed to standing. That's when I noticed the sound. Water dripped somewhere nearby, each drop echoing like a heartbeat. I strained to listen, catching another noise lurking beneath the drip. It was a soft scraping, like claws on stone, drawing closer. "Hello." My voice trembled, but I forced it out, hoping for a response. Nothing. Just the dripping and that scraping sound. Finding a wall, I took a few cautious steps forward. The darkness felt thick and murky, and I could barely see my hands in front of my face. I took a deep breath, pressing onward. With every step, the scraping grew louder. It seemed to surround me, enough to grip my throat with fear. Suddenly, I stumbled over something hard, knocking it to the ground. It rattled loudly, and I froze. Whatever was lurking in the shadows responded immediately. A deep breath filled the space, the kind of breath that sent a shockwave of terror through me. I listened, straining to inch back toward the wall. My heart raced again, pounding against my ribs. I reached down, my fingers brushing against something smooth and cold. It felt like a metal pipe, a potential weapon. I gripped it tightly, ready for whatever was about to emerge. Then, a piercing shriek echoed from the darkness, cutting through the night like a knife. It was the same fear-laden voice from before, twisting and warping as if it spoke from beyond. "Help me. He's here." My pulse quickened as I recognized that scream. It was similar to the creature I had seen in the warehouse. Was it the same one? I stepped back instinctively, only to trip over another object. This time, I fell, skidding across the floor until something sharp pricked my arm. I tore my hand away, feeling a bead of warmth trickling down my wrist. I cursed under my breath and moved before my instincts could get the better of me. I had to find a way out. The creature's words echoed in my head. "He's coming." I clutched the pipe tightly, my grip steady. Staring into the blackness, I noticed two glowing eyes watching me from the shadows, their gaze unwavering and hungry. Panic surged, and I turned, scrambling madly toward what I hoped would be an escape. In that moment, I knew I had to confront whatever was in the dark. The urgency pressed against my chest like a vice. I heard the growl again, closer now, and I realized, running wouldn't save me. That's when I saw it, something glistening in the shadows, beckoning me forward. It was my only chance at survival. I lunged toward the glinting object, praying it was something I could use. As I stumbled closer, I realized it was a rusted keychain dangling from a broken chain. It felt heavy in my palm, a mix of rust and long-forgotten hope. The moment I grasped it, I caught a whiff of something foul. It stung my nostrils, making me gag. Whatever was hunting me was closer now that I forced myself to focus, shoving the keychain into my pocket and looking for a door or some way out. The scraping sounds had intensified, vibrating through the air like a warning. I pressed against the wall, sliding my fingers along its rough surface, searching for any kind of opening. Then I heard a low growl rumbling from just around the corner. I froze again, rooted in fear. It was the sound of a predator, chilling and primal. The fear was real, and instinct told me to hide. I crouched low, my breath shallow, and waited, praying the creature didn't find me. That I glanced around, trying to keep low while scanning my surroundings. My eyes adjusted slightly to the dark, but everything still felt strange and foreign. I saw shadows shift, and I couldn't tell where the growl was coming from. My heart hammered against my ribs. Suddenly, a sound pierced through the tension, a series of frantic scrapes, followed by what sounded like something heavy falling. That my heart sank. Was someone else down here? The low growl morphed into a frantic yelp. It was followed by the sound of claws racing across stone, then a soft whimper. Whatever I was dealing with wasn't alone. I felt a surge of dread. My instincts screamed at me to move, to run, to escape whatever was lurking in the shadows. But where could I go? I pressed my back against the wall, letting panic wash over me momentarily. I took deep breaths, trying to quell the rising tide of fear. That's when I remembered the rusted key. What if it opened a door? I quickly felt along the wall, searching for a doorknob or latch. I found what felt like a handle. It was cold and oddly smooth, despite the dankness of the area. I gripped it tightly, summoning all my courage, and yanked it down hard. At first, nothing happened. My heart sank, but then I felt it give. The door creaked open, revealing an even darker passage beyond. I had no other choice. Pushing through with one last glance at the chaos behind me, I slipped into the unknown, praying it wouldn't lead me deeper into horror. But as soon as I stepped through, a chill washed over me. I could hear movement behind me, but I didn't dare look back. Just as I thought I could breathe, the scraping returned again, louder this time, as if whatever had been hunting me had found its courage. I had only a few seconds before I was discovered. I turned to sprint down the narrow corridor, the darkness closing in behind me. Then I saw them again, those same eerie, glowing eyes, and I felt my stomach drop. They were not far behind. I ran. The darkness enveloped me, turning the corridor into a twisted maze. I could hear the sound of claws scraping against stone, closing the distance. My legs burned as I pushed myself harder. I had to find a way out. There were no lights in this passage, just the lingering scent of dampness mixed with something rotten that made me gag. I pressed forward, letting instinct guide me, taking random turns and hoping for an escape. Every echo intensified my mounting dread. Was this how it ended? Trapped like prey, hunted down in the dark. Then I spotted a flicker of light ahead. It pierced through the blackness like a beacon. I sprinted toward it, willing my body to move faster. As I drew closer, I realized it wasn't just light, it was a door, ajar with a faint glow spilling out into the corridor. Hope surged in my chest, and I reached the door in moments. I flung it open and stumbled inside. The room wasn't much bigger than a closet, cluttered with boxes and old equipment. A desk sat against one wall, its surface littered with rusted tools and a single flickering bulb overhead. The light did little to reassure me. I knew it wouldn't hold forever. I shut the door behind me, my breath coming in ragged gasps. Pressing my ear against the solid wood, I listened carefully. The growling had stopped, but the skittering noises persisted. What was out there? It was only a matter of time before it found me. My eyes darted around the room, scanning for anything I could use. Among the clutter, a heavy pipe caught my attention. I grabbed it, feeling its weight in my hands. It would have to do, then a soft whimper broke the silence. My heart raced anew. I turned slowly toward the source. In the corner, tucked behind an old crate, lay a small creature thin and trembling, its eyes wide with fear. It was a dog, a pitiful sight with matted fur and bruises marking its sides. It looked more scared than threatening. "Hey there," I whispered, crouching low. "It's okay, I'm not going to hurt you." The dog backed away slightly, but its tail wagged cautiously. I felt a rush of relief. I wasn't alone. I extended my hand slowly, palm up. "Come here, buddy. We need to get out of here." The dog hesitated, but curiosity won. It crept forward, sniffing my fingers. Just as it got close enough for me to reach, a loud crash echoed outside the door, and the thing that was hunting me roared in frustration. The eyes that are no longer just in my mind, there were more of them now. I could hear clawing and scraping as my heart sank. Before I could comprehend it fully, the door rattled violently. I took a step back, clutching the pipe tightly. The dog whimpered, pressing against my leg. I had to think quickly. The only way out was through. I planted my feet firmly, ready to fight if I had to. But then it came to me, the keychain. I pulled it from my pocket, remembering the shape of the teeth. What if it opened something else? As the door trembled again, I shoved the key into an old metal lock I had overlooked on the far side of the room. Just as the door burst open, I turned the key with all my strength. That's when I felt it give. The door I hadn't noticed opened, revealing a narrow passage that seemed to stretch endlessly. I had no time to waste. I stepped into the narrow passage, pulling the dog with me. Its fur brushed against my leg, a small comfort in the chaos. The door slammed behind us with a resounding thud, like a final nail sealing my fate. The passage was cold, dimly lit by another flickering bulb that fought to stay alive. As we moved forward, the air grew thicker. Every inhale felt heavy, almost suffocating. I needed to keep going. I glanced back, half expecting to see something creeping behind us. But darkness swallowed everything. Only the subtle patter of the dog's paws kept me grounded. The narrow hallway twisted and turned, winding deeper into the unknown. Shadows danced along the walls, and the scratching sounds outside grew distant. I felt a momentary sense of relief before dread settled like a stone in my stomach. It was still out there, lurking, waiting for a slip-up. After what felt like an eternity, I reached a T-junction with two doors. One was slightly ajar, its wood swollen and warped. The other had a rusty padlock hanging off it, but the lock seemed intact. I glanced at the dog, still by my side, its large eyes reflecting my fear. "Which way?" I muttered. The dog tilted its head, as if it understood. Ignoring the door, I stepped toward the slightly open one. It creaked as I pushed it farther. Inside, I found a storage room filled with old crates. They were labeled with names and dates I didn't recognize, like relics abandoned to time. Moving carefully, I scanned the room. There had to be something useful here. Just then, I spotted a small window at the far end, its glass caked with dust. Hope bloomed again. If I could get to that window, maybe I could escape. But then I heard it. A soft scuttling sound echoed from behind the crates. My heart jumped into my throat. "Stay close," I whispered to the dog. The creature that had hunted me roamed the hall, but I couldn't let panic take over. I had to be smart about this. I grabbed a nearby crate and nudged it closer to the window, using it as a step. I climbed up, all the while keeping an ear out for anything moving. The scuttling sound faded slightly, but a low growl replaced it. My pulse quickened, it was getting closer. With trembling hands, I pushed against the window. It was stuck. I pressed harder, gritting my teeth against the panic. "Come on," a crash echoed from the other side. Whatever was out there had found a way in. I could hear its breathing now. It was heavy and visceral, filled with hunger and rage. Finally, the window creaked open. I didn't hesitate. I climbed through, half falling into a musty alleyway outside. The cool air hit my face like a slap, fueling my determination. I turned just in time to see the dog leap through after me, but even as I landed outside, I could feel the darkness still clinging to my heels. I needed to run. That's when I saw it. A figure emerged from the shadows, a person, but something felt wrong. I froze, heart pounding. Who were they? The stranger stepped closer, their features obscured by the murky streetlight, but the weight of their gaze was palpable. "Why are you here?" they asked, their voice muffled by the distance between us. It was a question that echoed in my mind, one I couldn't escape. My gut twisted as I recalled the frantic whispers and the chilling presence of the creature behind me. "I am just trying to get out," I stammered, still clutching the dog to my side. The stranger tilted their head, and a shiver ran down my spine. It wasn't just the eerie cadence of their words, their eyes glimmered with an unsettling recognition, as if they knew precisely what lurked in the dark. "Don't let it see you," they warned, suddenly urgent. "It's hungry, and once it's caught your scent." I had no intention of finding out what happened next. Ignoring them, I turned away, urging the dog at my side to keep moving. We needed to put distance between ourselves and the warehouse, to escape whatever haunted it. The street felt like an oasis compared to the warehouse's menace, but I couldn't shake the feeling that danger lurked just out of sight. Footfalls echoed behind me, a reminder that this nightmare wasn't over. I dared a glance back. The figure had followed, but now they lurked in the shadows, a watcher in this twisted game. My instincts screamed at me to keep moving, not to engage. I pressed on, the alley growing narrower and more claustrophobic with each step. The dog whined softly, as if sensing my rising panic. I tried to catch my breath, focusing on the rhythmic thumping of my heart. My mind raced back to the dark shapes I'd seen, the growls reverberating through the warehouse's empty halls. What did they want? I had so many questions, none of which had clear answers. Just then, I heard that familiar sound again, a soft scratching, slow but purposeful. It sent a jolt through me. Was it back? I glanced at the dog, whose body tensed beside me, sensing the shift in the air. I needed a place to hide, a moment to catch my breath before facing whatever madness lingered on my tail. Panic swelled within me, pushing me to turn abruptly into a nearby doorway, one marked with crumbling bricks and peeling paint. The door creaked under pressure, swinging open just enough for me to slip inside, dragging the dog with me. It was dark and stale, the air thick and expectant. My heart was racing again. Inside, I spotted a staircase leading into deeper shadows. Without thinking, I crept upward, every step amplifying the tension. As I reached the landing, I found myself in what appeared to be an old apartment, deserted and forgotten. My pulse slowed as I scanned the room. There were remnants of a life once lived: a dusty couch, a small table, and photographs mounted on the walls, faces long obscured by time. But fear flickered back to life as I sensed something off about the space. A sudden creaking noise brought me back to my instincts. I rushed over to the window, praying for a view of safety. I peered out into the street. The stranger remained below, their gaze intent, locked on the entrance to the alley. Did they know something? I felt my nerves tighten again, the shadows lengthening along the walls. Then, I heard a claws scraping, just outside the door I had entered through. My heart thundered in my chest. Whatever was hunting me was close again, closing in. The whispered warnings of the creature echoed in my ears: "He is coming. You must leave." I grabbed the dog and moved quietly toward the other door, hoping it would lead to safety. Yet, as I reached for the handle, I hesitated. There were too many unknowns. What if there was only more darkness? With bated breath, I turned the handle and pushed it open as the door behind me rattled violently. I didn't look back, couldn't look back. I rushed through, the dog at my side, into another corridor that seemed to spiral downward. Whatever being lurked in the warehouse was already here, closing in. As my choices dwindled that I could hear it growing closer, the whispers in my mind turning feral and ragged. "Why are you here?" They filled the air like an accusation. I was done with answering, there was no more time. I sprinted down the corridor, deeper into unknown shadows, not knowing whether I was running toward escape or into my own demise. As I moved further away from the aching fear, my mind was aware of another truth. Would I ever find out what it meant for the past to haunt a place? Would I uncover who those spirits were? Or would I forever remain trapped, entangled in the darkness of unanswered questions? The realization was a heavy weight on my chest, pushing me forward, deeper into the enigma, and in that endless night, I had no way of knowing what awaited me just around the corner.